Okay, everybody, my name is Eddie Laporte, and I am the Executive Director of the New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives. We've done a series of these webinars. Today's focus will be on our special projects grants. I will be uploading the other Q&A web sessions that we did on social innovation, SEED, and Project Atlas. This webinar usually lasts about 25-30 minutes. It's really brief. I don't get into a lot of details because there is a, hold on for a second. There are webinars that will be explaining in detail a lot of the stuff, and I don't want to regurgitate. Can you hear me now? Okay, good. I get, we're on the internet and we're on Wi-Fi, and sometimes the connection is funny. So bear with me because I know that you deal with the same issues as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, what am I going to do? All right. So to gain access to our application, you want to go to our website. It's www.nj.gov/state/ofbi.shtml. Listen, I don't remember that. So what you want to do is just, Google New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, and it'll bring you to this page here, our homepage. So if you scroll down, you'll see two boxes: spotlights, which is our grant opportunities, and trending. If you click on the trend, you click on Instant Connect, it'll bring you to this registration form, which when you complete it and you click Instant Connect, it automatically adds you to our Constant Contact database, where you'll be notified of funding and other resource opportunities. If you go back to the home page and you click Grant Opportunities, it'll bring you to our grant page. And so on our grant page, you'll see our grant guidelines, and today we'll be focusing on special projects, and I will be going into I'm just doing an overview on this and answering whatever questions you may have, and I'll answer questions at the end. The application due date is May 21st. The supporting documents that you need to upload, the only thing you need to upload is the board resolution. So the board, when you click on this link, the board resolution will come up like this, right? And it's a fillable PDF. Everything is, because it's COVID, we're okay with the printed name. And so you check off this box here because it says the parties agree that this agreement may be electronically signed, and the electronic signatures appearing on this agreement are the same as handwritten signatures for the purpose of validity. Please select the checkbox if you accept these terms, meaning that instead of a signature, a printed name is okay for you and for us. And then your secretary would have to fill out, the board secretary would have to fill out this lower section, and he or she would have to check this box off and type their name in there, and then you would upload it, and then you would upload it. All right. If you scroll further down, you'll see this link that says Technical Assistance Webinars. And then on the navigation bar to the right, you'll see webinars. If you click either one of them, it takes you to our webinar page. So if you've never applied for a grant through the New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives or the Department of State, and you've never applied for a grant in Blue Sage, I'm not worried about Green Sage, Blue Sage. The first thing you need to do is you need to watch this webinar. It's a 5-minute webinar that shows you step-by-step how to register for SAGE. Once you register for SAGE, in about 5 days, you'll get an email saying, hey, you've gotten access to SAGE. Once you use your username and password, once you get access to SAGE, then I need you to watch this webinar, which is organization information. Now, this is not only for new people who have never applied. This is for the for the folks that have received grants from us in the past, because this webinar walks you through the process of gaining access to 5 very important pieces of information that you need to have in order to do business with the state of New Jersey and in order to gain a contract through the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, Department of State. They are your charity registration number and proof that that number is valid, your division of revenue number and proof that that number is valid, your 501c3 determination letter. And listen, let me say this, I gotta say this, your 501c3 determination letter must indicate that the organization is created for the purposes of charitable services, for the provision of charitable services. If like a lot of small nonprofits think, their religious institution, house of worship, whatever that is, church, mosque, temple, synagogue, that you can use their 501c3. You can't use their 501c3 because their 501c3 says that the organization is created for religious services. If you submit that 501c3, we can't fund you because we can't fund religious institutions. Even though we're the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, we're state taxpayer dollars and we don't fund it. We have never funded for the 20 years I've been here. We've never funded a religious institution and we're not going to. So you need to read your 501c3 to make sure that that the organization is created for charitable purposes, right? So you need your 501c3 determination letter. You need your certificate of incorporation, not your articles of incorporation, your certificate of incorporation, and you also need your certificate of standing. This webinar will show you how to navigate the Department of Consumer Affairs charitable registration portal so you can determine if you have a charity registration number and if that number is compliant or non-compliant. If that number doesn't show up, right, you need to, go back to this page, scroll down to the bottom where it says Division of Consumer Affairs Charity Registration, click DCA portal, and this document pops up. DCA stands for Division of Consumer Affairs. We can't help you with the charity registration number. So this document provides step-by-step instructions on how you need to register for your charity registration number if you can't find a charity registration number, and or pay whatever fines or fees you need to, not fines, fees you need to pay in order to make your charity registration number valid. If there's an issue on the bottom of this document, there's a telephone number, 973-504-6215. You need to call them. Now, let me tell you something. It takes a few weeks to get your charity registration number moving from never applied to getting a number, or from the number being non-compliant to getting it compliant. So I suggest that you do this sooner rather than later, because if you're trying to do this on the week of when the application is due, you won't get the information, all right? So that's that. So, and then this webinar here, again, will also will walk you through step-by-step on how to navigate the New Jersey Department of Treasury so you can get your division of revenue number and proof that that number is valid, so you can download your certificate of incorporation and you can download your certificate of certificate of standing. Now, if you call us and you say, where do I go to get my certificate of standing? We know you did not watch this webinar. So you know what my staff is going to tell you? They're going to say, you need to go watch Step 1 organizational information on our webinar page, because all the information is there. So we know based on the question that you asked whether you watched the webinar or not. Once you completed all this, you can also simultaneously work on your application. So these webinars here provide detailed step-by-step instructions on how to create and access your application for Project Atlas, for social innovation, for special project, and for social enterprise entrepreneurship development grant. Today, we're going to talk about special projects. Now, what I'm not going to do is I am not going to repeat in detail what this webinar talks about. This is a broad stroke Q&A session where I'm just going to, basically talk in broad strokes, answer whatever questions you may have regarding our guidelines, right? If you want detailed information about the application, you need to watch this webinar, FY22 Special Projects. Okay. So this is the grant guidelines that you can find on our grant page by clicking this link that says special projects. All right, did I go over everything? Yeah, all right. All right, so here's the deal. So organizations applying for a special project grants can only apply for one funding category under special projects. Organizations applying for a special project grant can also apply for one funding category under social innovation. Organizations applying for the SEED project, social enterprise entrepreneurship development, you can apply for a SEED grant, a special projects grant, and a social innovation grant. Right? So SEED applicants can apply for 3 different applications. If they have the bandwidth to do that, then go for it. The application is due May 21st. This is a training webinar that I just discussed. Eligible criteria: you must be a nonprofit, faith and community-based organization. You must be tax exempt via the 501c3 IRS determination letter. And again, you need to be created for charitable purposes and not religious purposes. And it doesn't matter what your bylaw says. If you're using the 501c3 determination letter from your house of worship, then you're not going to get funded. Applicants must be registered for the Division of Consumer Affairs and must have a charity registration number. I just went over that, and that webinar goes about it in greater detail. You must be registered with the Department of Treasury and have a Division of Revenue number. I just went over that. You got to watch the webinar because it goes into greater detail about that. You must be in good standing, and you must be able to get your certificate of standing, and you also must get your certificate of incorporation. I just briefly went over that. You got to watch the webinar to get all the detail about that. Ineligible applicants: houses of worship, colleges and universities, public schools, charter schools, or private schools, right? So the funding categories: civic and community engagement, the max request is $10,000. There's $50,000 set aside for that. Why only $50,000? Because we only end up funding like 5 organizations anyway on the civic historically. Tutoring and homework assistance, $10,000 max request, $100,000 total funding for that funding opportunity. Here's a new one: food security, because we're in COVID, and a lot of community-based organizations were really stepping up and providing food to people that really needed it because of the pandemic. And we're going to be in this pandemic for a little while longer. And I think there's still going to be a need for gaining access to food. And so we are going to fund organizations at $10,000. The total funding amount is $250,000 to help nonprofit, faith and community-based organizations continue the great and heroic work that they've done during this pandemic to assure that there's food security moving forward in your local communities. Services to seniors, maximum is $10,000 that you can request. Total funding available is $100,000. Educate community residents on how to effectively work with local governments in addressing social and community issues. The program should work with community residents on how to advocate for themselves and using government to create a progress in their local community. Tutoring, there's no age group here. Whoever, if you want to work with teens, if you want to work with adults, that's fine. Tutoring and homework assistance. The Tutoring and Homework Assistance Program is designed to support organizations that provide academic support to students whose age does not exceed 21 years of age. Now, listen, I know that we're still going to be in COVID. We don't know what the fall is going to look like. So when you're creating these applications, you need to let the reviewers know that, hey, we're going to do this virtually, but we're also going to probably have to pivot to a more hybrid design down the road. So you want to let them know that you're thinking about, once we start loosening up stuff in our society because of this virus, that you're willing to pivot forward or pivot. Food security. I just explained that. Food security program supports locally based faith and community-based organizations whose mission is to decrease food insecurity for low-income individuals, families, and most vulnerable. Services to seniors. Services to seniors grant is designed to provide activities and services that promote aging in place, prevention, isolation, and whatever the other services you guys provide services to seniors. Now I know that is probably daunting, with the pandemic, but I've got a feeling that things will loosen up by the end of the summertime, going into the fall. So I think you're going to be a little more active than you were last year with the seniors population. All right, application requirements, right? The funding period is July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. That's our program year. Organizations that rate a 69% or lower cannot be considered for a grant. So project summary, I'm just gonna go briefly over this because the webinar on special projects is really detailed. So you're gonna have to watch that. I'm not gonna go into detail. If you have any questions about these particular sections that you looked at the application and you want me to answer them, I will. So what we're asking you here on the project summaries, we need you to answer these 2 bullets. We don't need you to answer 25 other bullets that you just made up, right? We need you to, because the peer reviewers are going to rate you on your answers to these 2 bullets. Indicate the title of the project, indicate the amount that you are applying for and the purpose of the program. Ensure that all clients receiving services are low income, and explain how you will verify their low income status. It's real simple. Organization capacity. All you need to do is answer these 3 bullets. You have 4,000 characters. Provide a brief history of the organization, describe the organization's experience in implementing the proposed project, indicate the total number of program participants along with the impact the program delivered or will be delivering. Statement of need. Indicate which surveys, needs assessments were used to inform the organization that the program that it's applying for is an approach the community wants addressed. This is 15 points, folks. And this, a lot of organizations get dinged on this one because I think they take it with a minimum of concern, and we don't read these things. We have independent peer reviewers and they have rating sheets, and this bullet is in the rating sheet. And so you need to be able to answer this question. Now, the surveys don't need to be something that you created. Maybe it's a survey or needs assessment that the county created or the municipality created or the local United Way created, but you need to have something that says that the project that you're applying for is actually needed in the community. Because what we find out is that when an organization just arbitrarily picks a project because they think it's good, and then they wonder why nobody is participating, is because the population doesn't think that that particular approach is necessary or needed at the time. It's probably needed, but it's not high on the priority list. Statement of collaboration. Describe who are the 3 collaborating partners and how will the partnership impact the organization's ability to implement the proposed project. You don't have to upload letters of support. We're in COVID, and so I know it's going to be hard to get those letters of support. So the application itself, and if you watch the webinar, it'll show you what you need to do. There's a section in there where you'll be able to summarize and identify 3 collaborating partners within the online application. Project design. Provide a detailed description of the project. All we're asking is the 5 W's: who, why, where, when, and why. Who's participating? What is the program about? Where does it happen? When does it happen? And why does it happen? That's it. Answer those 5 W's, and I think you're pretty good. Target population. Describe the population that the organization plans to provide services to: gender, income, and educational status. Goals and objectives. That's pretty self-explanatory. Indicate the goals and objectives associated with the project. That's it, right? Evaluation. Here's another one that folks get dinged with, right? We're not asking you to copy and paste a theoretical concept from a textbook that you use in graduate school for evaluation. That doesn't make a lot of sense because we know that you're not going to do that. So just think about how will you measure whether and to what extent the program's success has been achieved. That's all we're asking. Here are the goals, here are the objectives, and this is the impact. That's it. It's like 3 sections per goal, right? Budget. This is important here. Budget. Complete all budget forms in the SAGE system. SAGE is the acronym for, oh my God, Systems, Application, Grant, Electronic Systems. I forget what the A, you believe that? I'm here for all these years, I forget what the A means, but it's an online application. It's an acronym for what you're gonna do the application for. I'm so embarrassed. All right. Budget. So these expenditures here that I'm identifying are expenditures that you can think about including in your budget, right? So we are okay with you budgeting for $10,000 of grant funds, of our funds to be used for the purchase of technology. Well, we're in COVID, we're going to be in COVID. This, you know, you may need to upgrade your technological capacity. You may need to get, you know, if you're working from home still, a lot of people still are, you may need to get some Wi-Fi. You may need to get some laptops for your staff can do what they got to do. You may want to, you know, purchase Zoom or whatever virtual platform for the year, so you have that all paid off. So there's a lot of things that you need to think about here, but we'll give you up to $2,000. Will allow you up to $1,500 of grant funds can be used for administrative costs. Now, I understand that a lot of nonprofits they can't wrap their arms around the $1,500 admin cost because funders don't allow you to identify administrative costs, right? So the easiest way for me to explain it to you is the $1,500 can be used for expenses not yet realized in your overall budget. Right? So let's say you pivot to a hybrid in the fall and you got to get meals. You can get meals out of this $1,500. Let's say one of your laptops breaks down and you got to get a new laptop, and guess what? You can get that laptop out of this $1,500. You understand what I'm trying to say? This gives you the flexibility to be flexible in making sure that you're able to implement your project. You can also budget up to $1,000 of grant funds can be used for staff development. Now, I come from the nonprofit world, right? So I've been fortunate enough to work with leaders that, you know, they didn't pay much, but they invested in my education and enhancement of my skill sets. And so they would pay for me to go. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be able to go to conferences. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But now there's webinars. You know, you can pay for a certificate program. You can send her to a leadership school, a class, a graduate course that she wants to really take, or send him to a grant writing workshop that he really wants to take. Well, this is where you invest in your staff right here. And then up to 85% of the total grant awards can be used for personnel, right? So up to 85%. Under required appendices, you want to be able to upload your board resolution and your most recent 990. Remember, it's your most recent 990. So we're going to want you to upload that under required appendices. Underneath here, this is templated language. You know that there's non-discrimination by religious organizations and entities. That you'll be sensitive to cultural sensitivity. This talks about reporting requirements. I'm not going to get into that because I'll focus on that if or when you get funded. Training, that you'll participate in whatever trainings we have or once you get funded. And this is just normal templated language. So that's it. That is my overview of this particular webinar. And there's 3 questions in here. So let me answer these 3 questions. Anonymous, we'd like to apply for food security. We've had a food pantry for which we'd like funds. Pantry is run by volunteers totally and doesn't have a budget. Is this a problem? No. So what that means is that when you do the budget, you leave the personnel blank, you leave the consultant blank, and under other cost categories, you will put a line item for the purchase of food, right? I mean, or whatever equipment you need to purchase, or whatever rents you need to pay, or whatever travel you need to be able to provide. So anonymous attendee, yeah, your budget would be primarily the section called other cost categories. All right, I hope that answers your question. Next question. Anonymous attendee. For the civic and community engagement focus area, could the community members also be working at the county or state level to advocate for themselves and others? I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what that means. So anonymous attendee would ask that question. I can have you actually verbalize that to get me to understand what you're trying to say. So let me know if you want to talk, and click the participant box and raise your hand and I'll invite you to talk. Anonymous attendee, the 3rd question is, I asked about not having a budget. I will have a budget for spending funds we asked for, just not overall operating budget for pantry because it does not have one. Is that okay? Anonymous attendee, I don't know what you're trying to say with that. So I'm going to, hold on for a second. There is a glitch. I'm going to, all right. Anonymous attendee, I'm not sure about the last question that you're asking here. I asked about not having a budget. I will have a budget for spending funds. We asked for just not over operating budget for pantry because, yeah, you're gonna have to explain that one to me. So let me go in here. I hope you're in here as an anonymous attendee. Nope, you're not here as an anonymous attendee. So if you want to raise your hand, anonymous attendee, and I could allow you to talk because you're gonna have to expound on that one. Okay, I see your hand. Janice Alderman. Can an organization that is running emergency food distribution, but the mission does not specifically address food insecurity still be considered? Yes, we're super flexible because we're in COVID, and a lot of nonprofits, Janice, made that quick pivot for food insecurity, even though their mission doesn't talk about it. We're okay with it because we know that it is a need in the community that you're addressing, and it's totally needed. So yeah, we're cool with that. All right, I'm going to Nancy. Go ahead, Nancy, you can talk. What's up? You can unmute yourself, I hope. There you go.
I hope so too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you did. I can hear you.
Okay. You answered the first question I asked, and the second one I added as to kind of give you more detail, but it's confusing. Thank you. We don't have a budget, but we'll budget the funds that we ask for. That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Did you also ask the last question there?
Yes.
So I answered your question?
You answered the first one, and the second one was supposed to be a follow-up that just confused you. I understand.
But do I still need to answer it for you?
No.
How about the third one?
I don't think I have a third one.
Okay, so another person asked, I asked about not having a budget. I will have budget for spending funds we asked for.
That's my second one. Ignore it.
Okay, very good. Thanks a lot, Nancy.
Thank you.
All right. There's another question in the chat. It says thank you. So let me go. I think there's another question in the, let me see. Another anonymous attendee. This is from the Grant Guidelines for Civic and Community Engagement. The program should work with community residents on how to advocate for themselves and using government to create progress in their local community. And so let me go back to you. For the civic and community engagement focus, could the community members also be working at the county or state level to advocate for themselves and others? So are we talking about county and state level workers that are advocating for themselves at the county and state for their jobs? Or are you talking about that the county or state level workers are participating in the civic and community engagement in identifying a local issue that you plan to address collectively as part of, and they're part of the community? That you need to, I think I need to open you up so you can talk, because that's a bunch of stuff in that question that you asked. So hold on for a second. Just 1 second. Could the focus of the advocacy be outside the community level at the county or state level? So are you talking about, can the social, so civic and community engagement is talking about local community issues, not necessarily county or statewide level issues. So I think the focus needs to be at the local level and not necessarily at the county or state level. But if you're still, if you want to go with that answer, if you want to go with that, you can. You're not convincing me, you're convincing the peer reviewers, and the peer reviewers are going to be well versed as to what we're looking for civic and community engagement. All right. The last question is, These would be people impacted by poverty and homelessness, not workers. Okay. Again, the civic and community engagement should be locally focused, not necessarily county and or statewide. So listen, but if you're there and you're not going to give up, put in the application, see what the peer reviewers say, and hopefully, you know, they understand what you're trying to do. Are there any other questions? There aren't any other questions. If for some reason you want to follow up with us, the best way to get in touch with us is to email us at OFBI Oscar Frank Boy Indian at SOS Secretary of State at sos.nj.gov. So OFBI at sos.nj.gov. And what we'll do is we'll reply to whatever questions you have. But before you ask us questions, you know, watch the webinars that I talked about previously. Okay, folks, look at that, beautiful. We started at 12 o'clock, we ended at 12:30. I said we'd be here for 30 minutes. I answered a whole bunch of questions. I gave you the email that if you have additional follow-up questions, we can schedule one-on-one Zoom meetings and we can, you know, help you answer and think through that process. Are there any other questions? No? All right, so our session is over. Oh my goodness, I'm having technical issues here. Okay, so if you have any questions, you want to get in touch with us, email us at ofbi@sos.nj.gov. I think there's one last question. Thank you for all your webinars in this session. Everything was helpful. All right, Anonymous, thanks a lot for that nice plug. Can organizations that are running emergency, Raul, you're welcome. All right, everybody's good. So if you have any questions, again, email us at ofbi@sos.nj.gov. We can schedule a Zoom meeting or a one-on-one meeting and try to help you think through whatever questions you might have. This webinar is recorded live on our Facebook page, New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives. You could check it out there. And I'm also going to upload all the other Q&A webinars onto our webinar page. So thanks a lot. Listen, everybody be safe, mask up, social distancing. Let's get to the summertime, everybody. If we can get to August, I think we'll be okay. All right, everybody, enjoy your rest of the day. Oh, there's one more. Let me see. Thanks, Eddie. Stay safe. You too, Anthony. All right, everybody, have a good day. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.